Hello, everybody, and welcome back to You Are Good Enough. This is your host, Kimberly Bell. I want to say Happy New Year to you guys. We are saying goodbye to 2020 and we are moving into 2021. And with that being said, I want to talk about, or I want to ask you this question: what is it in your life or within you that you could be resisting? We resist naturally. We resist change. We resist and reject things about ourselves, about our lives, about people. We make a lot of judgments. There's a lot that happens. And I want to talk about this in particular because it keeps us from being our best self. It keeps us from enjoying a deeply satisfying and rewarding life. The natural flow and process of the universe is to keep moving forward, keep going, and oftentimes we interrupt the process through our own fears, and fear and resistance are related. And that's why this is so important. So I'm going to give you an example of what resistance looked like. And I also look at this as though, resistance can be rejection of self, rejection of love, right? It can be these types of things. And this is how it showed up for me. This is one example. I mean, I did it most of my life until my mid-40s, until I realized that I could actually begin to receive and that I was worthy and deserving of receiving. And so my hope is through you guys, watching me here, listening to me, that I can help you realize something about your life that is no longer serving you, and you make that connection and you make a conscious decision to start to change that. And we're all in process, right? So am I still. So I'm just going to mention that. So in my earlier years, how, resisting, let's call it love, how I would resist things was if someone offered me money, if someone offered me a compliment, if they offered me a present. And it's even harder if we're feeling like we're in a vulnerable state, right? It always feels easier to give than to receive. And I believe that the reason why this is because we've learned how to give. We've learned how to offer. We've learned how to focus on other people and their needs. But we haven't been encouraged or given the space or been offered the same for ourselves. And this begins early in childhood. So, and an example of that is, so in my family, material goods kind of represented love, I feel. Looking back, I didn't experience a lot of love necessarily. I did early on, but through my older adult years, not as much. So and you may feel this way too. So if material goods is what people, mom, dad, our families are offering us when we have achievements, right? Our grades, right? Our report cards, high honors, when we do well at a team sport or we're recognized in some way, then everybody loves us, right? And as soon as we don't get the grade, or as soon as we start to have an issue, it's almost like, well, you don't feel the love. And so in my family, I was offered things. And so what did I learn? I learned that if somebody loves me, they're going to give me a diamond ring. If somebody loves me, they're going to offer me diamond earrings, right? If somebody loves me, they're going to give me and shower me with all kinds of things. So, and this may be you. But what happens is, this is learning love, I feel, in more of a logical way. This isn't love that's coming from the heart space. Love that comes from the heart space has no rules. It's just given, and it's given freely, and it's natural, and it's just organic. It just is. There is no coerciveness. There is no manipulation. It's not, you get an A and I give you allowance. It's not, you do chores and I pay you. It's not that. It's, I'm offering my love because I love you and I honor who you are. But getting back to this place that we resist in our lives and possibly in ourselves. Just looking over here at my notes real quick, and I want to also offer this. So when we're young, we might play a sport and we might feel as though we get lost in competition, right? Because we're trying to make, of course, the people around us who give us the attention when we do well, we want to make them happy, yes, but we also want to experience that good feeling again, because that might be the closest thing that we've felt to love. And we want to, I was going to say reenact, but we want to receive and we want to experience that feeling as often as we can, right? Because it feels good to have people love us and offer us kindness and want to be with us, right? Value us. But then what can start to happen is if we, this is like a false, this is a false love. So if that's more of a logical kind of love idea, then I might get caught up in the competition. I might start to lose myself just to get something from, let's say, a parent that I don't feel like I can get if I don't perform kind of like that. So, and that's my experience in my younger years. Let's talk about this in relationship, right? Because this is also, I feel, very relatable. Oftentimes in relationships, and I say this over and over again, the idea is that we think that we're going to be just loved unconditionally. But it is impossible to be loved unconditionally by another person if you're not able to love yourself unconditionally. So I want to say that. The other thing is, when it comes to this resistance in relationships, often we put up with things that we know we shouldn't be putting up with, but we might get resistance to the change of maybe leaving, right? Making a decision differently, or being able to finally stand up for myself within the relationship. We are resistant for sticking up for ourselves. The more we begin to allow ourselves the space to express ourselves with our words and our actions in a loving and kind way to ourselves, the more power we claim for ourselves. And, people around us will start to realize that, especially if we have a relationship where we feel like we give our power away constantly in a relationship. But in relationships, this shows up a lot because we're constantly trying to resist having to make decisions about whether I should bring something up or whether I should go, is it time for me to leave the relationship, and what we end up doing is kind of sacrificing. So it's a lot of self, sabotaging. It's very common. And when it comes to ourselves and being resistant to ourselves, it could be around things that we know that we need to do for ourselves. Maybe it's, I have a lot of weight and I'm carrying a lot of weight and it's really unhealthy on my body. Well, I haven't gotten healthy enough to be able to, kind of tackle that, and there's a lot tied up in that. There's a lot, and the soul knows this, right? The soul wants to move forward and it wants to have this healing journey, especially if there's a change that needs to happen and you're resistant to it. Your soul wants you to do it. It gets awfully uncomfortable when we're almost to that point of realization. If not already realizing it, it gets very uncomfortable. And And oftentimes, we keep pushing parts of ourselves down. And a lot of times we tend to, when that starts to happen and we know that there are things that we need to do for ourselves so that we can feel better about ourselves. Because it is so uncomfortable, we often turn to distractions, and our world is full of distractions right now. So if there are a lot of things in my life that make me uncomfortable, a lot of times they have to do with us not, heeding the call of our soul, which is, hey, time to make a change, because change is very fearful for us. But when this happens, it looks like this. It can look like me turning to alcohol or substances. It can look like me being addicted to my phone, or addicted to gaming, or addicted to, anything to get away from myself. Anything that keeps me from healing the wounding that I have so that I can actually become a free, happy, liberated person. It's a really interesting thing because I feel like we spend the majority of our lives trying to fight things out of fear, right? But what's on the other side of it is amazing. And I only know this now because I've been through it. And it does take work. I think that it takes more bravery than anything, because most of us are just so afraid at the what ifs. What if I start crying and I never stop? What if, then they're going to have to maybe put me in a hospital because I'm never going to be sane again, or whatever the story is. And I'll be honest, I had those thoughts. And I had, mental illness in my family. And, and if you grow up thinking that you're going to adopt whatever your mother had or your father had or whoever, it can make it a lot more challenging to kind of embrace the changes that you kind of know that you need to make, for fear of losing it in life in general. So, oftentimes we are so focused on what things look like on the outside, trying to make things look a certain way so that nobody knows the truth of what is, right? There's that. The other part of that is sometimes we want to make make ourselves look a certain way, or our life look a certain way, because we don't want people to know the truth. But I want to offer that when we do this, we're actually resisting and rejecting ourselves. So let's say that I'm the kind of person that always wants to have, pictures posted with celebrities, or, I talk a lot about who I know and, the name dropping and things like that. It could be that you don't feel so happy and secure within yourself, and you think that people are going to think you're cooler if you are always with some, big celebrity, because you want people to think that you're bigger than you believe you are, right? The issue is, and I've experienced this for me myself, trying to act a certain way, trying to be a certain something that I wasn't, because I thought that's what people wanted to see. The truth is the people who are doing things like I'm talking about are coming from the very same place. They just want to be loved. They just want to be accepted, and they want to be appreciated for who they are. And oftentimes we resist allowing people to know who we are because we're afraid that they're going to reject us. We're afraid that they're not going to like what they find. And I have, of course, experienced this firsthand as well. And my experience is be yourself, and people will naturally like who you are. People are magnetized and love to be around people who are secure within themselves and really okay with who they are. Personally, I feel like I'm kind of on this journey to this radical place of really accepting myself in all ways. It's definitely been a challenge for me and difficult for me in ways, especially on the outside of the body, the physical body, which is what we're usually taught to really admire more than our inner workings. And because I have been able to be brave enough to work through some of these things, I have realized and discovered that I love myself a lot more because I was willing to look at the things I didn't like about myself and learn how to embrace them and hopefully accept them. Maybe not all things, but I sure am a heck of a lot better at doing it now than I used to be. And what that offers me is being real. You know, what that offers me is not having to change a story for anybody. If I can say the same thing to 5 people because that's just who I am and how I feel, life gets really easy. I can remember feeling as though I had to, years ago, had to say, if I didn't want to go to somebody's house or something, you know, or I didn't want to, you know, join in, this goes back years ago, I used to tell a few people different things until I realized, what the heck am I doing? Like then I start to lie. Who wants to feel like that? It doesn't feel good to lie. We let ourselves down. So all that I'm talking about is resisting ourselves, because somehow we don't feel like we're worthy enough to live in a free and happy way. And I'm here to tell you, you came here to be yourself fully. You know, the way I see this is we came here to understand who we are. We came here to become ourselves. But because of our programming and our past, which made it so confusing for all of us, we got sidetracked. And it doesn't really matter how long it takes us to get there. It sure is sweet once we get to that place. And it's just a different way of living. It's peaceful, it's joyful, look, life still happens, and I say this all the time. Sorry, I got the sun coming in here. Life still happens. It's not that I don't experience heartbreak and sadness and things. It's just that I realize that life has a process, and I now appreciate the process in life, and I honor that. And I honor that, you know, we're all souls and we all have choices in every moment of how to live our lives the way that we see is right for us. And so, you know, with everything that I've talked about here today, I would like you to think about this for yourself. This is a gift that I'm offering to you, to hear all of this and take what resonates for you. Take what you identify with. And I want to encourage you to embrace this, whatever this thing is for you that you might be resisting. You know, it might be parts of yourself, it might be you're resisting love. Many of us resist love. And at a core level, it's because we don't feel worthy. It's not easy for us to receive love because a lot of us haven't had the experience to do so. So we it's like we're extra sensitive to anything that might resemble like real love. And then we're like, oh no, what do I do? But I'm here to tell you that it's going to be okay. And I'm here to tell you that you can do it. And I'm here with you. I am absolutely still going through this process and will always hopefully be able to share with you the process. So I guess I'm going to leave it here. I want to thank you all for tuning in. I sure hope this helps. I would love to hear from you. I want to say Happy New Year to all of you. It's going to be, I'm sure it'll be an interesting ride in 2021. Love to you all. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast and to my YouTube. And I am moving into some new and exciting things here in the next year. I have a course that I'm going to be teaching called Life Navigation, and I hope you will join me. This course is going to be a practical, hands-on kind of way. This will be a live course, and we will meet, I think we're going to meet like 2 times a month. This will be me helping you work through life, right? And this will be in a Zoom group kind of setting. And it's for people who are ready to do the work. It's for people who are like, hey, I'm a little afraid. I want to make change in my life. Maybe this lady can be the one to kind of support me while I begin this process. And I would be so honored to be able to work with you. So, love to you all. Take care, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks.